You here with the Coaches Show, and we have ourselves our offensive coordinator and running backs coach Brian Smith right off the top. We'll have Coach Rolovich here in just a little bit as the team is walking off or just walked off the practice field for this Thursday before the Cal week here. Brian, Coach Smith, thank you for the time here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so let's talk about the offense from the we haven't talked for a couple weeks, actually, you and I. Sure. How has the offense, big picture, how's it been going for you? You know, I mean, that's a broad question, but how have they been practicing? How have the guys been looking?
Obviously it was not very productive in the game. That was a setback for us, more mentally than anything in terms of just execution, preparation. So there was a fairly good conversation with the players when we got back. And I think that they've taken that very well and are motivated to improve, and practices have been really good so far this week, these past 3 days.
What do you think it was at the start of the ball game there? There were a couple interceptions. There were a few 3-and-outs. There also was a drop ball. Jameer had that ball in his hands. That would have changed that drive. What do you think it was? Was it, road games are just difficult? Could you pin it to one thing? What do you make out of it?
It's more just us and our execution than anything. It's tough to pinpoint one specific thing that caused us to not play as well as we should. I think that there may have been some lack of focus within the group, and I don't think we did as good a job as we should have in terms of preparing them and handling the weeks off that we had before the USC game. And I think we probably could have done a better job making sure that they were more prepared for that game than they were. But I think they've rebounded extremely well and are in a good place right now.
Was 22 days almost too much to not be playing ball in the middle of a season? Let me put that differently. So. It's definitely too much. There's no doubt about it. But was it like, a bye week sometimes comes at a good time, and that's almost helpful. Was this kind of counterproductive?
It's a very different mental perspective where, you're preparing to play a team all week and then the game gets canceled.
Right.
That's something that, probably no one in the program really has dealt with. So just how that affects the players mentally and their outlook for the next week. And, the next one you're talking about Washington, and then that one's not going to happen. And so that's where we need to do a better job was, how we could have kept them more focused on getting better as a unit and not worried so much about some of the other things that are happening.
When you were there, you're looking at Hufungus making plays for USC and you're trying to scheme against the USCD. What were halftime switches? What did you like in the ball game? You had that really long drive late in the game that, was almost a full quarter. It took a really long time. I mean, was that good? It was good to score, but did you want to score faster? What did you like in the second half?
At that point of the game, the last drive that you're talking about, it was more just trying to get the guys completing passes, getting first downs, and then putting a drive together and ending the game with a lot of confidence. It wasn't so much about trying to go fast and score quickly. At that time it was, okay, let's work on getting completions. Let's work on just executing our offense and making some plays. And I want to say, I forget how many plays it was, but it was something like a 14, 15 play drive and took a ton of time off the clock, which obviously when you're down, you're not always trying to do that. But at that point, there were so many things that had gone wrong in that game that it was more important for us to just get them playing football and end the game with some confidence. As far as adjustments that were made, it was just getting our guys to calm down and play within themselves and, not worried about some of the things that were distracting them, not worrying about the plays that had previously happened and just focusing on the next play, clearing the ones that were there before them. And then really we just got back to more just our base offense, things that we felt really comfortable with executing with our quarterbacks, receivers, and, always like to try to get back to our run game too, because that's been real successful for us all year.
How'd you feel about the Wildcat, the direct snap to Travell?
I love it. And, that's something he does a great job at is, he can make plays. He brings a lot of energy and a lot of juice. And, he's done a really good job with our screens too, when we get the ball to him quick. And, he pretty consistently is going to make that first guy miss, which is a sign of a really good slot receiver for us. But, when you watch his high school film, he was a very exciting, electric running back. So, running some gap scheme stuff with him comes fairly natural to the kid. And, and anything that we can do that can cause teams to have to go back the next week and spend some more extra time on is good for us.
There have been a lot of really creative ways to get Travell the ball, right? He had that 44-yard touchdown run earlier. You've kind of gone out of your way to draw some stuff up for him because he's that explosive player.
Yeah, when like I said, when you have kids that have that ability with the ball in their hands, you want to try to find ways to make sure you get them the ball. And it may not always be, throwing it to them in our conventional ways.
Coming into this year, we thought with all the herky-jerkiness of the schedules and whatnot, we kind of thought and had discussed how the offensive line was the strength of the team. Would you agree with that as how the season for 3 games here has gone? And what have you really, really liked about the O-line, and what do you think they can improve on?
I think they've played very steady, and I think that they've adapted to what we do fairly well. I think they really enjoy the fact that we're running the ball more, and we're focusing on that part of the offense more than they've used to in the past. They've really embraced that. I think that they've enjoyed kind of how Deion's running the ball and playing real physical with them, and bringing a little bit different mentality with the offense between them and him, and having be more physically dominant than they may have been in the past. And for them just to continue to get better on is, just how they understand our offense, how they anticipate, how they can midstream adjust as the game goes on. Those are ways that we're always working to improve on.
How much of the run and shoot do you feel like is installed and that you feel really good about? You've only played 3 games, but you've had all these weeks. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, we've been able to put in, a good majority of the offense. You go back to how much you feel good about, it's not the entire offense, so we've been able to put a lot in. As we get into games, we pull back on things. Sometimes we'll revisit them depending on how we're game planning that week. So we try not to go into each game with too much. But they've been able to experience a good chunk of what is typically in for a season.
Deion's been really consistent. He's played well from the jump in what has been this pack-only schedule. Do you think that that's something that, when Max comes back, they'll split, it'll be Deion primarily, be it this year, next year, whenever, as the evolution goes, how much has Deion cemented himself as a guy that you got to get the ball to?
I think both of them have cemented themselves as guys we've got to get the ball to. I think both of them have shown that they can be, very good in this conference and in our offense, and both bring a lot to what we do and have the ability to make big plays. So there should be opportunities for both kids to get touches. The thing that Deion's done a really good job of that a lot of times backs struggle with is he's really embraced what we do in protection. And he plays extremely physical. A lot of times it goes kind of unnoticed unless you're really watching it. But if you really watch closely in the USC game, he played physical. And, one thing they did to try to isolate him was, probably their best defensive end, Drake Jackson, number 99. They lined him up as a backer and put a situation where Deion was going to have to pick him up in protection. And Deion really just stoned him. And, he did a lot of things very physical, plays really hard. So that's what I've been happy with him. I knew he had talent running the football, but he's really embraced what we do with protection and the physicality of that position.
Yeah, there's no stat for that. Then, when I'm doing the game with Alex Brinker, and I talk about how blitz pickup for running back, because he's looking at it from the QB perspective, he's saying that's everything. If you've got the unblocked man, you can't run the offense, and that's you kind of hear about that also as a next level thing, like a Sunday thing, right? And NFL guys are really, really good at blitz pickup because it protects your quarterback, and how much of that is he's a senior. He's played a lot of ball. He has really, he's smart in identifying what the defense is doing.
He has good football awareness, and that's helped him from the start. I think he's adapted well to what we do. I think he was excited for a change. I think that brought a good opportunity for him. But he does have good football intelligence, football awareness. He's able to pick up things fairly fast.
We're with our offensive coordinator and running backs coach, Brian Smith. We'll talk a little bit more specifically about the rest of the running back group. We had a lot of Clay Markoff in the LA Coliseum. We'll talk about how Juvensley and maybe how Max is looking if he's back in practice as we are rolling along here. It is the Cal week, and the game is now at 1 o'clock. Since you were at practice, Coach, the game was officially moved up. The Huskies will not be playing in that time slot because of some COVID issues, so the Cougs will replace him. Can we keep you for another segment as Coach Rolovich is on a meeting right now, I think?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you. That's awesome. So that's offensive coordinator Brian Smith. We'll be right back here with him.
Yeah, I got the word about the
Our offensive coordinator, Brian Smith, also the running backs coach. And I wanted to go down memory lane a little bit. I want to talk about the running backs as well, as I had teased before we went to the break. But, you know, Coug fans have got to realize 54 times in your senior year, you snapped the ball to Nick Rolovich, who threw it to Craig Stutzman. And that is now this Cougar offense. You snapped it to Rolo, who threw the ball to Stutzman successfully 54 times. And what was a phenomenal year for Hawaii. This is the ultimate get the band back together. I mean, this is getting the whole crew and getting the guys back together.
Yeah, you know, it's awesome to have to be able to work in a situation like this with people that you've been friends with for that long. You know, Craig and I were in the same recruiting class together in 1998. And, you know, the two of us went through a lot of ups and downs in that time in Hawaii, where we were 0-12 our first season, and then ended up by our last year 9-3, and you know, obviously, you know, beating undefeated BYU in the last game was huge for us at home. We won the WAC championship our second year there as sophomores. You know, so there was definitely a lot of great memories, a lot of ups and downs, and, you know, adverse situations we came through. And you know, Rolo joined us after that second year, after junior college, ended up having a great senior year with us.
When was the last time all three of you guys were Well, I was at Hawaii, I guess. So before that, when did it kind of come back together? Because you spent time, you were at Portland State, you were at Occidental College, you got your master's at Cal Lutheran. Like, how did it kind of coalesce back together?
So yeah, the big coming back together was at Hawaii when Rolo got the head job, and then before that, we all worked together in 2008 at Hawaii when Rolo and I were both assistants, and then Craig was a graduate assistant for a year with us. So that kind of got us all really jumping into the coaching profession. We were all real young at that time. Nick, I think, was coming from coaching at City College. I was coming from coaching at Portland State. Craig had stayed local and was coaching high school and was moving up into the college ranks. And then, some opportunities started for Craig after that, and he moved on and I think went from there to Portland State. Rolo and I stayed and were assistants for the next 3 years after that there.
So how do you think this is transitioned now into the Pac? I mean, it's no small sample size. It's 3 games. You beat 2 Pac schools last year. You're 1-2 here this year. You almost beat the Ducks. You were within a touchdown there very late. But what do you think about your initial impressions of being what the league is so far from what you've seen?
The evaluation of our offense, obviously I thought it was a really good start at Oregon State. Right now it's kind of trying to turn that corner. I thought that we'd obviously dropped down at the USC game, and obviously it was an execution issue and some belief issues that I think that all of our kids have kind of broken through that wall, and I think they're really turning the corner in a positive direction. Sometimes you got to take a step down to take some step forwards, and I think our kids did that in this last week.
So you think in some way maybe you can kind of glean, humility is the wrong word, but when you go to the LA Coliseum and you're down really big and you weren't executing, but you can pull positives out of the defeat is kind of what I'm hearing. Yeah,
well, I mean, you're identifying the things that are your problems, and you're attacking those and you're fixing them, and that's the biggest thing this week. It involved hurting some feelings a little bit probably on Monday. But I think the approach mentally that the players had in terms of how that criticism came, how it was addressed and what was needed to get fixed. And I think that they understood it. They understood where we were coming from. And I think they've embraced it and have moved in a good direction.
You are the running backs coach in practice, in addition to being the offensive coordinator during games and through the week. So we know Deion McIntosh has looked really good, and you talked about how physical he could be sometimes. How have the rest of the running backs looked through practice this week leading up here to Cal?
They're doing well. So obviously Max has been practicing, and we're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with that one. And Clay's been practicing really well, and I was happy he got a chance to play a lot in that game. I thought that was great for him. And it builds more confidence in him and in myself. So it's good to see him run physical, taking care of the football, solid in protection. JoJo's practicing well. We have a competitive scout period where, more of our twos will go against the defense, and they'll scout with their good guys against us. And he looks real sharp in those periods, and, has run the ball physical and hard. And, he's one that I'm really enjoying to develop. He's a great kid. He loves football, and he loves what we're doing here. So I see a lot of good things in the future for him.
Yeah, I was excited when Juvensley was in the game. He fumbled the only handoff that was coming his way. Rolo said it was a draw play. It's actually a little more complicated than some of the other plays, and we haven't seen him since. I was bummed out to see that didn't work out that first time.
I was bummed too. I was excited to see him get a chance to run the football. And that was originally called for Deion, and then he ended up coming out for a reason. And it was, in hindsight, I wish I would have probably changed the play at that time, but I didn't. I had confidence in him that he would, be successful. And, and next time I'll still have confidence in him that he's going to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's about the only time I've seen him put the ball on the turf. I've watched a lot of practices. I mean, he's a really sure-handed kid. He's a great athlete, right? Juvensley is phenomenal, elite level athlete, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely. Explosive speed, can jump. He's pretty exciting to watch play football.
Yeah, he's a really, really good ball player. Do you feel like the running backs have done everything you'd want from the run and shoot scheme this year? Are we seeing what you envision as the goal for your running backs group?
The position will grow more in terms of what we do, what we can do with that group. The thing we haven't done much with was getting them out of the backfield, getting them lined up in different positions, different spots. That's where we'd like it to grow down the road. With where we're at right here, I've been happy with where they're at, how they're learning, how they're progressing. But there is more that we can do with them.
When you say out of the backfield, so they might be in the slot, they might be as wide receiver, and so empty backfield sets, that type of thing.
Correct. Yeah.
It seems like we've seen a pretty big portion of the run and shoot then, right? I mean, this is it's not all of what it is, but it's quite a bit of it.
Yeah, like I said, a good chunk of what we do is in. The base is obviously in, and the concepts that make us the run and shoot are in. That's really, there's a handful of truly traditional concepts that make us what we are. Those are in, and then it's just building off of those and continuing to grow. And we'll change a little bit every single year. That's pretty consistent to have a little bit of change from year to year. And grow as you're evaluating what you're doing well.
How's Jaden practice this week? How has he run the offense since the USC game?
He's practicing well. And, I think that, the challenges that he's faced in some of these games are helping him grow and understand, what it is to be a Division I college quarterback and how he has to approach the game and, how he has to play within what we do. And he's seeing that, and I think he's understanding how he has to grow within what we do. And like I said, he's embracing that.
How about Gunner and Cam? Give me the QB breakdown from the OC perspective from this past game. We saw like almost a midstream rotation there. They were in and out like running backs usually are. Yeah,
that was fairly unique, right?
Yeah.
And both of them have kind of unique skill sets, do different things well. One's a lefty, one's a righty, so there is more opportunities for that, especially with those two where you can, get them in and out at the same time. And I was glad we got to do it so that both of them got a chance to play and got a chance to get completions. And, I think it's great for their confidence and, for us to be more confident in them too, moving forward. That they were able to move the offense, execute, complete balls, and did it well. And, both were able to extend plays with their feet and, ran the ball or threw the ball well on the run. So I thought it was a positive last drive for them and for the offense.
Yeah, they looked pretty good, right? I mean, they did everything you'd want them to do in that last drive. I mean, you don't want to – nothing really wild happened, but nothing bad happened, and they wound up scoring on the drive.
Yeah, they just executed. They did what we were asking them to do.
Mountain Cold Refreshment made to chill 2020, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. We will have Coach Rolo on the show here in a little bit. He's working on some stuff. You and I have not touched on what's coming up on Wednesday, which I'll talk to Coach Rolovich about. It's signing day. Mm-hmm. And I know that we're a little bit limited in the specificity of recruiting that we can talk about till signing day, but what light can you shed on what we can expect? How do you feel about what's coming up on Wednesday?
We're excited. I think so far we feel really good about the group, and it's going to be a young group in this first signing period. But we're addressing a lot of our needs, and we're excited about the kids that we're recruiting and the type of people they are, and families they're coming from, and how they're going to help us in the future.
It's like this whole other, kind of hidden thing going on behind the scenes because we don't talk about recruiting, and we're not. There's some NCAA stuff, and then there's commitments and there are rules and all those things. But yeah, you've got the game week and you've got game prep. You got Cal this week coming up on Saturday, but as much as anything, you've got signing day coming up on Wednesday. It's this huge part of everything you guys are doing. Right,
and it doesn't feel that weird for us because, typically this is happening in bowl week. So typically we're practicing and, we're game planning and, signing day's happening and, we're going to practice, all that stuff. So it doesn't necessarily feel abnormal right now that it's happening in a season.
We'll take a break. We're up against it. Maybe we can hold on to you as long as Coach Rolovich is hung up for a little bit. And we're here with Brian Smith, our offensive coordinator and running backs coach, as we continue on the Coaches Show here. Coaches Show here with Coach Rolovich, and Coach Brian Smith was kind enough to take some time and start the show off with us here. He's a good leadoff hitter, ROC running backs coach.
How was he? He was good?
He was great. He's great. He's talking ball and telling us about the offense, and he thought Dion was really, really physical. He loved his physicality. He said that they talked about some stuff after the USC game. They used it as a learning experience. They didn't execute the way they wanted to, was what he said. How do you feel about how the USC game was? And that let's talk first half. It did not go well, I don't think, from your perspective.
No, I would agree with that. Not sure we were completely ready to play, and that lands on myself and the other coaches. Didn't necessarily have that feeling rolling up to it, but just some of the stuff we did was a little bit out of character, a little bit outside the offense. And it's a tough loss. It hurts, all that. But we were able to point to it and reinforce a lot of the things we're trying to teach. Here's why we do it this way. Here's this. And the best part about it is these guys, especially the receiver group, really took coaching and took the criticism. And I said this before, but we're really big on attacking problems, not people. And I think that's a good way to live. And I appreciate, especially the receiver groups, taking it and turning around and really having a good few days of practice. So that's a good sign for the character of this group.
Was it some communication stuff with Jaden in that first half in reference to the receiver group? Was it drop balls? Was it the way they were kind of reading the defense? Was it physically? What do you attribute it to?
I mean, a drop ball or two, but just the general sloppiness of the offense, which, I think, I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg, but I thought Jaden was a little bit outside the offense too. But Dion and the O-line have been really solid the whole year for us with their physicality that Coach Smith talked about, I'm sure, and toughness. It's a definite benefit to come into a program where that's kind of established, and I'm very grateful for that.
We're loaded up with Twitter questions here. So what do you say we get to some Twitter questions, some Twitter folks? Because sometimes we're a little light on time. I don't want to leave anybody out here. So let's just go right off the top. BD Giddens. First of all, let's go Cougs. All right. Thank you for the participation. Go Cougs. As a coach, is there an age you recommend kids with D1 football dreams to begin weightlifting?
I think it just depends on where they are in their growth, right? Some people grow a little bit later than others. I guess, where they're at in their puberty timeline. I don't have any evidence that starting before that. I think activity is much more encouraged from me than necessarily weightlifting. Do your push-ups, do your air squats, do your pull-ups. You got to learn to do all that before you get a bench set or a squat rack. You got to show that you got to jump rope. You got to just do athletic moves, and that's why I'm a big proponent of playing whatever sport you can, compete in at whatever time of the year. People that love to compete, people that love to, just understand. And I think there's different games provide different thought processes, which will help these young guys as they, chase their dreams down.
His second question is, if the team needed a motivational speech, is there a living coach or celebrity who'd be your dream choice? Do you have like a go-to motivational voice that you could bring in as a guest in a locker room?
No, but there was a guy by the name, he's still doing it. Dennis McKnight, who coached at Hawaii and did a lot of coaching with June Jones. And I just thought he was always so honest, but encouraging, but the energy level was really high. And I think that's, Coach Goby's got a lot of that. That's why I appreciate his meetings. I think he's good to speak to the team, a couple times on Friday and Saturday before we play. I don't know, they were both special teams guys. And I think having to deal with the whole team, the whole roster on a daily basis kind of gives them some credit to speak at that level with the whole team.
BD's final question, you went 3-part question here on this tweet, was as a QB, what do you like best about running the run and shoot?
I love the whole shot on the cover 2 corner. That's what I love. If I could do that again, I would. And anytime they give me a chance to throw a whole shot, I'm going to try to do it.
I was talking to Brinker about that. We were going through.
Brinker, a whole shot guy?
Brinker loved Brink.
I would take Brink as a whole shot guy.
He loves it. Now let's, for those who explain what that means.
It's usually in a cover 2 type or cover 2 where the corner has the flat and there's a safety over the top and there's an eye manipulation of the corner. Sometimes they try to be tricky and because they're really looking for the big either interception or there's a big hit on any kind of route in the flat. And there's a real fun manipulation of their body language versus yours as a quarterback. And then you try to hit in the hole right behind them before the safety gets there. There's different ways, smash concept, but that's not really the one I like. I really like the quick out with the mandatory outside by number 1. I think that one's the best.
Did you come out of a huddle or?
I respect whole shot lovers.
Would you come out and read the defense? You'd see the cover 2 and just go, oh, I got him. I know I've got him.
Yeah, but you can't be too far where you may have to take the flat if that guy sinks deep. You can't just force it. You gotta massage it.
I love it. Hey, Jennifer Delzer, who's always a frequent listener and contributor, she wants to know, relative to the run and shoot, how long did it take you to develop that ESP, that unspoken communication with Craig Stutzman, for instance, who I talked to Brian Smith about, who you had 54 completions with your senior year, where Brian snapped it to you and you took that ball and threw it to Stutz.
Well, that's cool. Before it hit the ground 54 times.
54 times that senior year. That's right.
Well, I know it was thousands in practice. The general kind of consensus throughout the years is A year in the system really changes the connection between receivers and quarterbacks. Seen some good things this year, but there's definitely growth still to be had in the receiver quarterback relationship deal, because each one's growing, each one's making their own mistakes, until we get back on to a real complete same page. We didn't have that this year, so we've tried to really emphasize on things that we could get good at, and I appreciate the effort that they're putting in and the belief in it they've had.
LJ wants to know, a random curiosity, but what goes on during flights to away games? Does everyone put headphones on and sleep like normal planes? Is it like a pep rally in the air? What's a team flight like?
It's not a pep rally. A lot of headphones, especially coaches that work so much during the week. I think it's a chance to shut their eyes. After the game, it's really, let me get the laptop with the film. Let me start looking at it. Let me see what I can address and correct. Even if you can get it done before you land, right? Hey, you remember this play? Well, this is what happened. As much as you can, because you're going to have to turn around and get started on the next team pretty quickly. So it's not like a party in the air. No, it's pretty it's like a normal plane flight.
Greg wants to know a little bit about Wednesday. Before I ask these questions, Wednesday is signing day.
Yeah,
coming up. We'll actually go live. It'll be with Alex and then Jessamine and yours truly with whoever's available to talk about recruiting.
I actually think we should come up with a better nickname for Alex. I know we've got Brinker, but it's something whole shot.
Husky Killers is the one that fans.
That one stays, but he can use another whole shot nickname type deal. I'll work on that. But so that's why I was late. We met on a Zoom with all of the commits and a real introduction of each other, but also taking them through, the paperwork, answering any questions, because this is it's not a terribly complicated process, but it is a very pressure-filled and exciting process for them. So this is usually stuff that is done in the home visits, especially towards the end, when you can, okay, here's what your NLI looks like. Here's the grant and aid or the scholarship agreement. Here's where you will sign. You sign at 7 a.m. your time. I'm glad we've gotten away from faxing. I think we've helped ourselves by allowing the transmission through just photos and then getting the hard copies back. But just because most of them, we have one. I think one that has gone through it before, and he's going to be a transfer. But the majority of them, this is their first time, and I think it's good. It was a good opportunity for also the parents of all the commits to get to see each other, meet each other as much as you can on Zoom. So
I'm excited to talk about them. We get some bios and we see some film on Wednesday when the class is unveiled. It's a big day. It's a huge day for you guys and a huge day for the program to see what the new Cougar football players, what the next year's set, and who's coming in the spring, who's not, and all that. It's a really exciting day. It's fun.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because you can't really say much until they sign, and you got to kind of dance around questions. But some of the qualities are. We weren't gonna bend on character. We weren't gonna bend on loving the game of football, loving the process of becoming a better football player. That was really important for us.
Greg wants to know, as being a Power 5 school and a member of the PAC, does it give you an advantage over a group of 5 schools? And is there like a closer on the staff, a recruiting a guy you bring in to try to seal the deal with a kid?
I think, well, the first question, yes, I think the resources at Power 5 schools lead parents to feel more comfortable with leaving their child there, knowing they'll be taken care of. The food, all the weight room, the facility is nice and all that. I think the nutrition and the food and the safety of this community have been things that where I've seen is a real strong selling point that can I can help guys choose this place if that's what they're looking for. What was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Is there like a closer, like okay, hey, this kid's on the fence, let's bring? Is that you? Is there somebody who's a really good, does a good job of kind of selling the vision? I think that's the spirit of his question.
Well, I think everyone does a nice job of selling the vision. I think we're pretty aligned in that way. As far as the closer, it usually goes to the head coach, but I think this has been a year where who develops the best relationship with the kid and the family, right? It doesn't always need to be the position group. I'm very impressed with John Richardson's ability to talk to anybody and everybody that, during the recruiting process, not just about football, not just I think when you talk to John, and hopefully we can have him on here at some point, you'll see that he's got real wonderful personal qualities that I think the majority of humans would appreciate.
We're up against a break. We've got a bunch more questions to get to. We are here with Coach Rolovich live on this week's Coaches Show as we get set for Cal. We'll talk about the Bears in just a little bit. We're live here, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes. We are going to do a quick segment here with Coach Rolovich as we are one segment away from previewing Cal. We've got some more questions here from the Twitterverse that we want to try to get in here. If you participate, we do our darndest to get you on. Nick wants to know, Coach, if there are any conversations among coaches to feature the run more. It feels like the Ducks and the Trojans were struggling in stopping the Cougar run. How do you feel about the run game and the inclusion of it?
Well, I think when you look back at the stats and Dion averaging 6.5 a carry, I think it's easy to go to that thought process. And I think it's a fair thought process, or at least question to go to as a fan or just a football critiquer. USC is a little bit more clear as far as the flow of that game. Travell's really been a spark for us. Renard's really been a spark for us. We got down early. I thought we had to kind of get going and get catching. I know that we probably should have sprinkled in a few more runs for Dion. but we try to take what they give us. I think they, it took us a little bit as an offense to settle down with the newness of the things they were doing. That gave us a little insight. We try to tell our guys, it was really the first time where a totally new look came at us at the start of a game. So, but in the past, we have practiced, I've said this also, sometimes it's like an option offense. You may get a whole separate defense on game day, and we have to be able to adjust faster and communicate it better as coaches to our guys and execute it better on the field. They have great players. They did some great things. But most football games are lost. I think that sometimes that can be hard for people. If we get beat and someone just beats our face in, I can eat it and get up, but if we don't play our best and we're the one causing some of the mistakes, that's a little bit harder to swallow. So we just have to be honest about ourselves.
All right, we're up against it. We'll take a break here. We'll preview the Cal Golden Bears next. It is the Coaches Show here, Cal Week. We're talking live here with Coach Rolovich. Coach Rolovich is in the Cougar football complex. Coach, this is the opponent preview segment. Cal's off a 4-point win over the Oregon Ducks. They started their year off with that Sunday game, that Sunday morning kick against the Bruins. What do you make of Cal on film when you're trying to attack this defense, when you're trying to score on them? What do you see?
Just as general, as a team, I think they're improving every week. I think, you mentioned their close game with Oregon, but also, the Stanford deal. This team very, very easily can be a 3-1 football team right now. And they've got, I think, excellent personnel on the defensive side of the ball. I think they've got a scheme that's and this is not a slight to them. I think it's actually a strong suit. Is they know they don't play a huge amount of defenses, but they know how to play them, and they know how people will try to attack them, if that makes sense. So they try to do what they do and be great at it, very similar to what we try to do on offense. So that'll be a nice battle. It'll take discipline. It'll take great communication on the sideline as far as the small details of leverage, depth, those things. Got to be great from the booth and the communication on the coaching staff. But I do like their athletes. I think 24 is an excellent football player. I don't know him at all, but I like watching that type of football player play. And he's not the only one. I mean, he just seems to show up a bunch.
Cameron Bynum is that corner, yeah. Bynum, and then there are names on this Cal defense. Coug fans and the whole pack are very accustomed to seeing from Coin Dang, Cameron Good, Josh Traden, Elijah Hicks. They're all seniors. The Cal defense is almost exclusively seniors. They've got a handful of sophomores and juniors in there.
Yeah, they are. A lot of length, more length than most teams at the linebacker level. Obviously, Good and Hicks has played a lot and been very productive. I just think Justin Wilcox has really done a really good job with that program, and I like him very much as a person. I think a good Cal football team is good for the conference, and I credit him for getting that done.
On the offensive side, big running back Christopher Brown Jr. is 235 pounds, but they've got three guys that run the ball, Dancy and Moore, and then Garbers has been a pretty darn good QB.
Yeah, they are spreading out the rushes, which I'm sure that means they're all fairly healthy. Formations, tight ends, splits, under center, shock. I mean, they've got everything as far as that. I think. And this is not a knock on their defense. I think the way they like to win is I don't want to say field position. I don't want to see control the clock. I think they're very proud of their defense, and their defense can really, help them win football games. So some guys are okay punting. I don't really like punting, but there's a lot of football guys that's how their team and their thought process of how to win a game is going to happen. So, and I think they know who they are. I think that's one of their strengths is they know who they are. They're good tacklers. I'm impressed with them. And, look at the coaching staff. You got DeRuiter over there, competed against DeRuiter a bunch. Wilcox, even before he got there. Yates. I mean, they got guys who we've had to battle against for a long time. So should be a fun battle with good people.
We'll take a break. Final segment coming up next. That's a quick Cal preview as we get kicked off against the Golden Bears. 1 o'clock on Saturday now. 1 o'clock kick that has been moved up. We'll take a break. Come back. Final segment next. is Cal week. The Cougs take on the Golden Bears. Coach, we're a little more distant than normal here. You know, I mean, geographically speaking, you're a little bit across campus. We're trying to do all the right things here with this odd year, but you know, we're doing what we need to do, and we're trying to get kicked off here for 1 o'clock. Now, 1 o'clock kick on Saturday, as flexibility is paramount here this year.
That's right. So the itinerary changed, you know, and I mean, everyone's fairly used to it, right? Nothing's been set in stone as soon as this
crazy deal.
It seemed like, but it happened during tonight's practice. Told the guys after, you know, it's just is what it is. Not good or bad. It's just you get to play at 1 o'clock. So.
Hey, thanks so much for all of your time here on this show. That'll do it. Huge thanks to Jerry Kylo, our producer and engineer. Jared Prengoober always does such a good job. I think Bill Stevens is lurking behind the scenes. Huge thanks to Bill Stevens.
Associate Athletic Director Bill
Stevens and Jake Hermana back in the studios. Thanks so much for listening. It's Cal coming up at 11 o'clock airtime on Saturday.